Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm one of the horticulture teachers at Box Hill Institute. I teach a lot of different units. One of them's pruning. So we teach specialist amenity pruning, which means we look into rose pruning, fruit tree pruning, hedging, basically any of your specialty sort of pruning. So today we'll be looking at this salvia here. So it does definitely need a good cut down. It's just winter time now, coming into spring, perfect time to do it. So we're basically looking at where would we cut to. So you can see these little nodes up along the branches. Basically we're cutting to right above each node. That way it's giving all this new growth that will come out come spring. I'm going to take this down really quite far, almost to ground level, maybe 10 centimetres off the ground, because if you do leave salvias, they can get really woody down the bottom. As you can see, last year it wasn't pruned very hard and it gets very woody, and we don't want much of that. We want more of a herbaceous plant. So I'll give an example. I'll take the tops down, part of the tops down first, just to show you. So we're looking at our nodes and we're just doing a nice clean cut. And I'm just taking it down so that I can actually see what I have to work with. When you're using your secateurs, don't use the tip of them. You've got to really get them right in there, because otherwise you're not going to get a clean cut out of it. And on your secateurs, you've got the blade and then you've got the anvil. There's nothing sharp on this part of the secateurs. So if you use them upside down, you're just going to be mashing into the plant and you're actually going to bruise it. So you need your blade on the top. Taking them down, nice clean cuts. Just take it down to each node. You'll find when you're using secateurs that if it's too thick, you could end up doing an injury to yourself, to your wrists or your forearms. So something like that, I'd get my loppers. For now, I'll just use my secateurs on the thinner branches. Just taking it down to each node. All right, so starting to clear that away. I'll do the other plant here. Okay, so looking at this thicker branch here, I'll get my loppers. So anything over sort of around 3 or 4 centimetres, you use your loppers. And I'm just going to, again, just going to that node, a nice clean cut. Okay, so I've got the big ones. We'll get this other one flat, and I'll take that one. Nope, can't get there yet. That's okay. So we're still just taking it right down. So don't be worried too much about taking it really far down. Like I said, we don't want that woody growth down the bottom, but we did cut it down pretty hard last year, and this is how high it grew. So that's 1 year of growth. So salvias are very vigorous growers. Possibly this is also so high, it might not be getting as much sun as it would like, but we'll continue just getting rid of these taller parts just to tidy it up. And then you can stand back and have a look at where you're at, what you need to remove. So nice and down. Just moving, tidying it up. All right, we've got 2 salvia plants here. We'll do both of them. I'll just do this front one first. Nice strong cuts. I'll use my loppers again to get through these thicker branches. When you're cutting with loppers or secateurs, make sure that you're not injuring other branches. There we go. And this one. And that one. Again, always cutting above the growth, above where the nodes are. Just having a look at the cut here that I made, it's actually too high. You don't want to nick the bud so that you're injuring it, but the rest of this wood here, nothing's going to grow from it. All the growth will come out to the sides here. This will become deadwood. So I'll just take it down a bit closer. Yeah, and then that way you're not going to have sort of stumps at the top of your each of the branches. So we're starting to take it down even further, having a look. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. All right. So I'll just take those back to my secateurs. You can use loppers for smaller branches, but secateurs are better. They've got a cleaner, sharper cut. Okay. Just get rid of these ones. Rightio. There's always more branches when you think you've finished. This guy and that one. Put those out of the way. All right, he's starting to look a lot better. So when we're pruning, we also look for dead, diseased or dying branches. So I can see this middle branch here, that's hollow. That died off from last year, so I can remove that entirely. Same with this branch here. I'll use my loppers for those. Once you've got to manoeuvre your way in, and you can cut it right flush to the base. And I'll just get this one here. Yep. You're just tidying up your plant. You don't want any branches crossing over either, because if it's windy, they can rub on each other and end up doing damage to parts of the plant. Use my loppers on that. Okay, so there's a branch, part of the branch here that looks like it's sort of snapped off in wind. I'll just remove that just to tidy it up. Okay, so having a look, I've got two branches close to each other. They will rub on each other. I'll pick the healthiest looking one. Both are healthy looking, so it doesn't matter entirely which one I choose. And I'm just going to keep taking it down because it's also coming out of the garden and I want to reduce it back. Okay, we're starting to look good. I can just see a little, you always get dead little growth, bits of growth there. That. All right, so starting to look good. I'll probably just take it down just a little bit more and then I think we're about done. Sometimes it can be hard to get the right angle in there. Bit more. Oh, look, we'll live on the edge here, and you're not going to be, no matter what you do, you're not going to be killing the plant. It will definitely come back. As we know, they can grow really tall. Oops, that's a dead branch. Right, so that's cleaned it up a lot. I think I just about, with pruning, you always think that you're happy and then you see other bits that you want to take off. Okay, so all clean cuts. Sometimes, well, a good example here, sometimes if you don't get a nice clean cut in there, you can rip the branch a little bit, which isn't great because that also can allow pest or disease to come through, especially when you've got humid conditions. And the reason why we try to open up our plants is that if you've got a really bushy plant, often sort of you don't get that wind flow or air flow through it, which is then creating more of a humid environment, which pests and disease love. So I think having a look at that, I might just take that last bit off and I think I'm happy with this first plant. That. And I think that's how we'll leave it for today. That's how we do that one. Okay, so we'll look at our second salvia plant here now. We've cut down our first. So again, reducing the height just so that you can see what you've got to work with. Not using your secateurs upside down because that's not going to cut anything. That's completely blunt. Your blade is where the sharpness is. So we'll just reduce it down. Again, moving yourself into a position that you're comfortable. You don't want to be twisting and turning too much where you end up doing an injury. This particular branch, I probably should have used loppers as it was a bit harder to cut. So I'll reserve the rest of those branches of that width for my loppers. So just reducing it down. And this particular salvia's got a thicker trunk. It wasn't pruned back hard last year, as hard. So I'll definitely need my pruning saws. Okay, good example of lopper use. Okay, so I might actually use my loppers from now on, because otherwise I'll prove myself wrong. Okay, we're just taking it down neatly above the buds and the nodes. When you've got your buds on these different intervals, the space between it all is an internode. Yeah. Nice and neat, because you've got nice sharp loppers. Very important to have clean and sharp tools, and very important as well in between pruning, when you move to a different plant, to clean and sharpen your tools or sanitize your tools in between, just so that you're not transferring any disease. If one plant has a disease, you don't want to transfer it to another plant, especially roses. Roses can carry a lot of diseases, so it's really important even just to spray your tools with methylated spirits, just to give them a clean so that you're not introducing new diseases to different plants. That's a bit high. Good example. As you can see, I didn't do such a clean cut, sharp cut on that one. There's a little bit of ripping. It's not the end of the world for the plant. It's not going to die or anything, but it does sort of wound the plant. So you want to be really sharp and concise with your cuts. If you do damage your plant, there is a good chance that pest and disease can get into the plant as you've opened up basically a wound. So just continuing, bringing that level down. Oop. When you're working outside, it's best to try and keep your work area clear, and that way you don't have any trip hazards, extra trip hazards. And that way it's also less cleanup at the end. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I've taken down a lot of the height at the front. I'll move around to the back just so that I've got more access, and always move yourself so that you can get into the plant easily. Again, you don't want to be twisting and turning. Get rid of those branches. All right, that's one already pruned. Okay, now having a look at it, we've got a lot happening here. There's a lot of branches sticking out. I kind of would like it to be a nice, neat prune. So I think we're at the stage now. I'm not going to bother keep taking these branches down. I think I'll get my pruning saw and I'll take it right down to that thicker trunk. Beautiful pruning saw. Okay, so I'm just going to remove this so it doesn't poke me in the eyes. Again, look out for your safety. Okay, I'm just going to duck down, and so I'm going to take, so you can still see there's really, the big nodes, you can see new growth coming out. Sort of where the bumps are, I guess you'd say your nodes are. Okay, so I'm cutting from the inside out. Make sure that your saw is not hitting any branches, because that's going to wound it. So nice clean cut. There we go. If you have a branch that's quite heavy, sometimes it's better to do an undercut first before you cut on the top, and then that's going to reduce the amount of ripping to the bark so that it won't damage it. Okay, this one, I'll just see which angle I can prune that best from. Sorry, Prostanthera behind me. And again, holding the branch firm and steady, also so it won't rip off when you've cut through. This one I could use my loppers for, but I have my saw. I may as well just use it. There we go. Yep, tidy. Okay, so that's quite a dramatic prune from what we first started with, but this will bounce back beautifully over spring and summer. And again, it'll end up being taller than my head. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that pruning there. And now it's just to clean up my green waste and to go and clean and sharpen my pruning tools.